Oh, welcome in, everyone. Let me double check my mic settings. I did not check that. That was the one thing I forgot. So that's my that's my fault. We're good. We should be good. Welcome in. This is the Oregon Postgame show live here on the Voice of College Football. Yesterday, obviously, we were not live following the actual game. We had, we're both busy people. Also, you notice that Brandon is not here tonight. If you were watching last week, he is sick right now. And so hopefully he feels better shortly. And hopefully he will be back with us next week to discuss the game next weekend. So this was a pretty good game. I mean, let's look at it. This was exactly, I think, what as a Duck fan you wanted to see. You wanted to see our team go out and be focused on the field, and that's exactly what they were. They went out, they did what they needed to do against, I use the term very respectfully, a really bad Colorado team. A really bad Colorado team. But since Colorado decided to make that coaching change about a month ago and get rid of fire Carl Durrell, they have been playing hard. They've been fighting. And I've said it, a team that loses their coach, they either give up on the season or they fight harder to win something, to prove something. So you never know what you're going to get. It's always a dangerous thing. And I mean, Colorado's been selling out that stadium, or pretty close to it. So yesterday there were a lot of Duck fans in attendance in that crowd, and you could hear it from some of the calls if you're watching the game, where it would be not a bad call, but a call that would go against the Ducks, and you could hear the boos from the Oregon faithful. So that was really good to see. But as noted, the final score was exactly what I think we wanted to see, 49-10, and the game might not have even been that close, really, in regard to it if you were watching it. Colorado fought hard the first half, especially in the second half. They just kind of imploded. I mean, Oregon made adjustments and moved on with their lives, looking at coming up for next week. So that's I think that was really good for our team. That was what we needed to see, because this could be considered what some people would call a trap game. I don't know if you'd call a trap game against Colorado a trap game, but it kind of is. You played Arizona, then you have Washington coming up, and then Utah and Oregon State. And so here's Colorado on the road, just kind of laying in wait, seeming like they have nothing to play for. Well, they do, and it's to spoil someone's season. Well, Oregon didn't let that happen, and that's all that matters. So, again, I appreciate everyone that's going to be here tonight. Again, we weren't live yesterday. Both of us got kind of busy. Brandon was sick tonight, so he couldn't make it. So again, hopefully he'll feel better and he'll be back next week for the post game next week. So what did you guys think of the game yesterday? Anything special stand out to you guys? Because this was kind of a defining game. Can the team continue to get up every week, go on the road, even somewhere like Colorado, and play? And they did. And that's all we wanted to see from them. What we got going in the chat right now? David, first. Gotta love to be first, don't you? You have to. We've got some other spectators coming in here. Bunch of knuckleheads. John's just creeping us. That's nice to see. I like that. Will, Notre Dame fan. Hey, gotta give props to Notre Dame. They had a great win yesterday as well. But this is the Duck Show, so let's keep that stuff to a minimum. No, I'm kidding. All the love to Notre Dame and to One Scoop John in Michigan. No, Raymond, hey. I appreciate it. You guys make the show. It's not me just sitting here talking about the game, the team. I don't remember everything. That's why I love the crowd interactions and I love the comment sections, because this is what drives the show. It's you. This is about us talking about the Ducks, what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't like. Even if we don't agree upon it, this is what drives the show. And so you guys are what make the show. So we appreciate you being here. Of course, we're going to get, of course, we're going to get this. Yeah, I saw the score. I did not watch any of that game yesterday. We saw the score. I think most of us. It was not pretty. It was not pretty. So I don't know what they're doing down there and what they think they're going to do or whatever. But yeah, it's not pretty in Miami right now. I we can look into this, and I think this is a very fair point. I mean, it's not the offense even itself; it's that the coaching staff says, "Hey, we don't," or Dan Lanning especially says, "As long as the offense is doing what it needs to do, I'm not going to get involved heavily." And I don't think he has been. I'm sure he's involved in the game planning. I don't know if they talk about that a whole lot, but yeah, I think every Oregon fan here will sit here and go, "Hey, Cristobal put his fingers in the offense a lot and restricted what the OCs could do." And I think that's pretty well known at this point. I mean, and now Miami's seen it, and I myself personally told Miami fans, "Hey, hold on, slow down with that because you just don't know." And I think they're seeing it now. So. Let me see here. Sorry, we got a bunch of comments coming in, trying to get them here. So before we go on, because I see a bunch coming up about the Huskies, which of course this is our, outside of Oregon State, this is our key rivalry game, and you could put Utah pretty close at this point because we're going to be out for some revenge coming up. But the Ducks game yesterday was pretty impressive, and with the surprises that came out yesterday offensively, like the different play designs, the different looks, the different reads off of those plays, I don't even think that this offense has hit 50% of what Dillingham has in line for it. I mean, you saw, I just saw a comment here, right here, from Raymond. Yeah, I mean, I would think Herbert as a quote-unquote fullback, even though he's a tight end, would be powerful enough, but putting Sewell as a fullback, that was, and even the announcers were like, are they going to let him run it? And he did. One the most graceful of leaps over the goal line, but it was effective. Then you had the same. You had the pitch option to Bucky, and instead of Bucky doing the toss play, basically the pitch toss, then he tossed it back to Nix for a touchdown. It's another same play that we've run, but then they adjusted and did something different off of it. Or even the goal line read where instead of what seemed just like basically like a power formation, Connerly slips off the line because he's lined up as a tight end, catches a touchdown pass. I mean, these play designs are leading people. I think they're showing little bits here and there to just make the next team go, oh no, there's so much more. And I don't think we've seen half of what Dillingham has in his arsenal at this point. I really don't. I think we are literally just watching them run the ball, and that's it. I mean, so seeing some of those was quite impressive. Maybe we should have maybe saved them, but I think there's so much more, and I think that's the confidence that this team has offensively. Dillingham with his players, and Lanning has with him. That's why Lanning, going back to like Cristobal, Lanning's not getting involved heavily outside of game plan because he doesn't need to. He can trust his OC. He can trust the players around him, all the position coaches, and just let them go execute and do what they need to do. And they're doing it. So he doesn't need to get overly involved. But I don't know outside of some of those special plays if there's a whole lot here sitting to talk about with Colorado, with all due respects to the Buffaloes, as you saw in the thumbnail. Poor Ralphie. I'm the first one to say it. Ralphie deserves better, but they're still fighting. They were still playing hard at the end. They had, huge snafus in the second half with some of the snaps. Second half, Gonzalez coming up big with 2 interceptions. That was impressive. Plus against his old team, so that made it even almost more rewarding for him in some sense. Even though he doesn't have any dislike for Colorado. When he left there, he said it was a hard choice to leave, the team there. But it was impressive overall, all around. as a whole team. The offensive yards weren't like crazy numbers. I mean, we took our foot off the pedal at like, easy 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. We just stopped. We put in our backups. Only averaged like total like 479 yards of offense. But Bo Nix, 22 of 27, 2 touchdowns. Nix had the receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown. So he continues to just escalate himself and just being extremely efficient. I mean, you can't even say accurate. He's being extremely efficient. Rushing, only like a 200-yard day rushing. Nothing overly crazy, but, effective. Averaged as a team 5.5 yards a carry. Can't complain with that. This was the game. Just go in, do what you need to do, and move on for the week because we have those final 3 games coming up. So, once again, Oregon just trounces Colorado as they should do. But now we got to start looking on to other things. So, as we get in here, I know there was a bunch of comments in here. And I know, well, speaking of efficiency, here we go. I don't know about leading it. I think he does have a true shot as long as there's nothing disastrous, so to say. I mean, when you look at the Heisman winners outside of Lamar Jackson, I think it was, no one in the Heisman race that has won it, especially. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I'm saying outside, no winner has not gone to the CFP since 2014. Now, could he be sitting in New York? If he keeps putting up numbers like this, even if the Ducks dropped a game, yeah, I don't see why not at this point. You just watched Hendon Hooker take a huge hit yesterday in the race. You just watched C.J. Stroud not have a stellar game at all against Northwestern. And those were what a lot of people consider their 2 kind of front runners. So I think you definitely could see Nix get bumped up quite a bit. I'm not saying he's winning it by any stretch, but will he be in New York? If he keeps it these types of numbers and statistics, yeah, I definitely don't see why he shouldn't be anyways. What is this? Let's go on because we're looking at next week a little bit too because Colorado, I don't think we had to worry about Colorado too much, and we saw what we wanted to see. Let's move on from this week and focus. And I'm just really happy 2 of the next 3 are at home, especially with the Huskies because it is a rivalry game. The Huskies have been, they've been effective in certain areas, but they haven't. They've struggled. They've been kind of hit and miss. They've been up and down. So you never know what they're going to get. So I'm glad we have them at home. But like with Will here, did anything the Huskies do against the Beavers scare you or another East win dubs down? I don't know about an easy win. I'm not going to say that's going to be an easy win. It's a rivalry game. This is definitely by far the most heated rivalry that we have. Yeah, we get heated with the Beavers, but, we're not going to hate on little brother too much. I love the Beavers, but yeah, dubs down all the way. This should be a good game, but I don't see the Huskies hanging around with us more than, 3 quarters. I think definitely the fourth quarter, it's going to get blown open. We're going to have to see. I'm not predicting a score in this type of situation for this game because you just don't know what's going to happen in rivalry games. That's kind of the hard thing to do. But I just don't see the Huskies hanging around the entire game. I see Oregon wearing them out. You just see the offensive game plan from Dillingham. He seems to just know how to attack teams. So I'm not stressing this game at this point at all. But, and yeah, Raymond, yeah, that was pretty cool because they were like, oh, look, he got a touchdown on his birthday for big Josh Connerly off the line. Big boy touchdown. You got all college football fans, I think, love big boy touchdowns. So to see a true freshman like him get a chance to just sneak out there like that, yeah, that was great for him. That was absolutely great for him. And yeah, right here about offense, it's all about trust. And exactly, right now, you said even Dillingham is giving Bo complete reign on checks, and Bo's trusting the coaches, and that's it. There's a trust that we thought about with Bo having with Dillingham having with Bo originally at the beginning of the season when he was named, officially the starter. So we knew that was going to be something that would come into play. But then even people have said, Dillingham doesn't look at play by play. He looks at a series. So he goes up with having 3 potential play calls or something at the line. And whatever they decide to call, if Nix doesn't like it, he can check out of it. And then you have Forsyth up there and that experienced O-line that can also check and change coverages or protections as needed. There's a huge trust between Nix, the O-line, and then Dillingham. And that's why I say Lanning doesn't even have to really get involved heavily. Whereas like in previous years, we saw with Mario, he would get too involved, like too involved, and become so restrictive in play calls or how he wanted the offense to run that it was still efficient, but it became so one-dimensional and predictable in a lot of games. And that was really part of the problem in a lot of the games that we struggled in. Yeah, this one is tough. I mean, you look at we have, of course, backup wise, of course, we have I just literally just drew a blank here. Thompson. My God, sorry. I literally just went mind blank there. We have Thompson and we have Butterfield. We haven't seen anything of Butterfield really since Eastern Washington. He got in real late, I think, for a little bit. So we haven't really seen him since the spring game. And Thompson, every time he's come in, it has not been pretty. I know they're putting in a lot of backups at that point. So he's with kind of the second team / even maybe some third string people, but he has not, I don't know. And it makes you a little concerned that it's not a development issue because, I mean, Cristobal turned him down, like same with Moorhead. Not even just Cristobal, but Moorhead went with Anthony Brown instead. And now Dillingham, of course, has gone with Nix. But every time Ty gets in there, I don't know what he's trying to accomplish because half his throws, I mean, he's under a lot of duress. I will say that most of the time he's under duress. Like sometimes some of the picks he's thrown in garbage time, he's gotten hit. So that's why I say, I think we have a lot of backups in. So that could be part of the problem. But our backup quarterback situation, outside of just running or simple checkdowns, I don't know. I have no idea what we're doing there. I know next year, of course, we have Dante Moore supposed to be coming in. He's committed. I don't think he's, he hasn't signed, obviously, but so will he become the backup? And then there has been a lot of talk about, Nix actually has one more year of eligibility. Would he come back? I don't know. I really don't think so. Before, when he transferred here, he said he was only planning on doing one and done. That's what he said, apparently in some reports. And, I don't blame him. And if he keeps up like this type of season and he finishes as especially like a Heisman contender, I don't see why he would come back. Outside of like some personal glory to like win another big game or another maybe conference title or at least compete for one or maybe a playoff berth or something. Outside of that, I don't see any reason that he would come back if he keeps up these types of numbers because he's going to get drafted. So why jeopardize that success to maybe lose draft stock and money? Well, it doesn't make any sense to me, but that's a personal decision he has to make. So Nix technically can come back next year. If he doesn't, though, I don't know. At this point, I'm not 100% sure what we're going to do at quarterback next year, unless Thompson just something clicks, because it doesn't seem to be clicking. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't want to say he's like a 5-star bust. I mean, it happens, but I'm not going to call that at this point. Obviously, we haven't seen him enough. And exactly, David. Yeah, we just went over it, and outside of Knicks, I don't know. So I'm not going to stress on it too much because that's looking at next season, and obviously outside of some weird, unfortunate, crossing my fingers, no type of injury to Knicks, I don't know what we would do. I really don't. I would actually like to see Butterfield more, to be honest, because we haven't seen him. And everything I've seen from Thompson, unfortunately, has not been great. So this is one of those things with the Heisman, especially is unless something changed on Saturday, during that game, he became the FBS leader. FBS leader in touchdowns responsible for. That's, obviously passing, running, and then even now he has a receiving touchdown, which was kind of funny because they even said as soon as he got that receiving touchdown, they said, there's your Heisman moment. Like, there it is. There's that really kind of special play, even though, it's against Colorado, so it wasn't like a defining moment, but there's that kind of really unique special play that, most Heisman players have. They have that one play, 2 plays a year that really stand out to people. And that's one of those ones where you get to go, he gets, a touchdown reception. Not all quarterbacks obviously get to do that. So, and again, like we said before, I think and he said it too, is he needed a fresh start. Things have become kind of stale at Auburn, tense. He'd gone through, coaches, coordinators, for any player developing still and learning, even if you have the talent, you can't develop that way. That's not how it works. So coming back to work with Dillingham, it kind of bridged to where he started building success. And that was his best season, was with Dillingham at Auburn, his first season. So naturally coming here with Dillingham, it made sense. So, yeah. You look at this season, he doesn't do anything else. It's by far his best season completely, total, number-wise, statistic-wise, everything. And I don't see it dropping off a lot. Is he going to have like a rough game maybe coming up to end the year? Maybe a down game, but I don't see anything crazy because one of the things like we were talking about earlier with his decision-making, but also the offense, is that he is not afraid to just take a check down anymore. Like at Auburn, it seemed like he was always forcing it. And that's where a lot of incompletions, turnovers, and stuff came from. There was a play in this Colorado game that I saw what I would state as the Auburn Bonix, and that was that 4th and goal where no one was open. He was running. He couldn't find an opening to rush in. And so he turned around and just heaved it backwards towards the goal line. Yes, it was 4th and goal from like the 5. So if it got picked off, not a huge deal, but that was one of those plays where you went, oh no, don't do that. Don't do that. And I'm sure Dillingham told him immediately, like, do not ever do that. So that was I'd say that was the only play where I've seen like the Auburn bow kind of show up a little bit. And it didn't turn anything bad, but you don't want to see those. So outside of that, this is definitely by far his best year. And I would say he would agree too. This was the best decision that he has made in his football career up to this point. I would definitely agree with that. And there was another question here because I got Raymond's and I missed it. I should have started here in the chat. Oh no, it was Will's. That's right. Never mind. We went over that. We did touch upon that. The Huskies were lights out on Saturday. They did. Picking wise, I don't bet, but I do fun picks with some of our other guys here on Mark's channel through our Discord. I picked the Beavs to win. Hey, props to Washington. I did not get to watch that whole game, so I would like to go back and watch it because that was a game I want to scout a little myself personally because, of course, we're playing Washington next, and then we finish the season with the Beavers. So I want to look into that game a little bit more. The thing with that is I don't know how good Oregon State's defense really is or if their offense just has this off and on nights. And likewise with Washington, because you've seen each team, score a lot and give up a lot. They don't seem to ever stay kind of consistent. Obviously, that varies by opponent they're playing, home game, road game, etc. Also, did that game in Washington get as messy as people said it was going to? I believe they called it the Sky River was coming or something. That wasn't quite the elaborate term they used for it. I can't even remember what they said. It was one of the funniest things I've ever heard. But they said it was going to be an absolute rainy mess, like just a slop fest up there. So I don't know if it ever came to that, but hey, props to the Huskies. Does that concern me at all, according to Will's question earlier? No, not really. There it is. Yeah. The atmosphere. Something like that. Yeah. It was a great way to describe a monsoon, basically. Just a downpour that was supposed to come. But does that bother me? No. Does that? I don't know if like with Raymond here, David, Tyler here in the chat, Ryan. Does that performance from either of those teams concern you? Mostly, I guess Washington. Defensively. Again, me personally, no, I don't think that bothers me at all. And is it something we're going to watch for? Yes. But, the team, it's just Sunday night. The team's going to really, I'm sure the coaching staff is already watching film. And then they're going to start game prepping tomorrow for it. So, and it's a home game, which helps, but it is a rivalry game. So, again, I'm not stressing it at all. And, here's our input. Yep. Nope. No. Yeah. Okay. I think most Ducks fans would say that's pretty consensus. Washington and Oregon State both have been up and down a little too much, I think, this season, where a performance here and there is not going to alarm me. Now, Utah, yes, that's a different matter. That's 2 weeks from now. Not even going to get into that situation right now, but we got the Dogs coming up, and I think we all agree Dubs down because we don't like the Huskies. So, again, what were you guys' takeaways? This was going to be I don't want to say a brief show, but, it was a brief recap. What did you guys' final thoughts of this game? What did you guys like to see? What did you think? Because, again, I thought defensively it was fine. We gave some yards, especially those slant passes. But that's because they the linebackers are playing so close to the line, those slants can get behind them. So maybe they'll adjust there a little bit. I thought the secondary did fine. D-line got after him. We gave him some yardage. 2 takeaways, though, both from Gonzalez. Again, Nick's extremely efficient, decent yardage, 5 total touchdowns, responsible for 4. 2, 1, and 1. Maybe it was 4. So great numbers. Receiving group did fine. They did exactly what they needed to do. This wasn't like a standout offensive game, but we took care of business. It was a dominant win. Didn't give up anything in the second half to Colorado. So, I'm sorry, we did give up the field goal in the third quarter. I apologize. We did give up that field goal in the third quarter. But that's it. So, I like what I saw. I'm happy with it. And I'm not concerned about it coming up with Washington at all. Yeah, exactly. It is a bend don't break defense because they move the ball, relatively well between the 30s, and then they would stall out. They did miss a field goal in the first half. I remember they did miss a field goal. So, but missing field goals are part of the game. It happens. But yeah, it is a bend don't break defense. But when it matters, they're getting those stops or holding teams to field goals. And those are big differences. Like you go back to the UCLA game, they were giving up yards. There was no arguing that. But when it mattered, they made the stops and held them in check. And yeah, Sewell getting that touchdown was great. Connerly again getting the touchdown was great. Bucky getting a passing touchdown. When Nick's receiving it, it was fun. This is what I think this is the one thing we've said. The offense is actually fun to watch again. Like, it's actually really fun to watch because you don't know what you're going to get. They pulled out that really weird swinging gate kind of formation that Oregon used to do on those 2-point conversions. But this time it was literally like just the center and Nick's, and then everyone was spread out like one-on-one with the defenders. And I was like, this is the second time we've seen something like that. And I'm like, okay, what's going to happen with this play? I'm still waiting for it because they called it back in both times, but I'm waiting to see what we get out of that play call because it's going to be an interesting game. And it's going to be a cold game. Doesn't look like I'm guessing this is against Washington. I have not been checking the weather for that game because I'm not much of a weatherman, and weather is part of the game. I mean, you want to talk about weather. If you were watching that Colorado game, there was stuff kind of floating around on the camera and on the field a little bit most of the game. But that last like 8-9 minutes of the game, oh my gosh, the winds just picked up. Refs were getting their hats blown off. The cheerleaders were losing the pom-poms across the field. It was like it was quite the scene to see. So I don't know. That was quite a game. John, you watch it in here with this nonsense. Now we do have to watch out for Michael Penix here. He he's been up and down though, and unfortunately he started the season super hot, and people were like, "Wow, why didn't he look like this at Indiana?" Kind of hit reality a little bit. I think it was a little bit. That was a coaching change. People weren't used to this, and I think that's what you're seeing. People are kind of, but who knows? Yeah, you have to be aware of him. The game coming up, yeah. I'm not even going to get into the whole Utah game at this point because, again, that is 2 weeks away. The team is focused on Washington, but of course Utah is coming up immediately following, and the game is at home. But this isn't that same Utah team as last year. And you look at, speaking of like USC, and with all due respect to USC, because I haven't watched every game of theirs, every game they have seems to be a one-possession game. So that makes me almost not as concerned about USC in some regards, because I wonder if their defense is really, like, they've been living off takeaways. So if they're not getting takeaways, they're just giving up yards, like left and right, to every team they play. So I don't know, but we have several games like Washington, Utah, and then the Beavers coming up. So I'm not even going to think about like USC at this point. I think we're pretty much locked into the title game at this point, unless something just disastrous happens. But we're not quite there yet. So we'll get into that, and nor is USC because they still have to play UCLA. So there's still a bunch of football, even though there's really only 3 weeks left in the regular season, which is another crazy point. If you think about this, you've got USC. Well, no, I'm sorry. You have USC and UCLA both have a conference loss. Oregon is the only team right now that doesn't have a conference loss. Can anyone in the chat really quickly name the last time and who it was, a team that went undefeated in conference play in the Pac-10/Pac-12? You know what year it was and what team it was that did it? The last one to go undefeated in the conference during regular season. Got to test this knowledge coming up here. I see one response. But no. Close, David. Close, but no. No, it was not 2011 Oregon. It was not. All right, we'll drill this out a whole lot more. It was 2010 Oregon when we went to the national title. 2011, remember, we had the loss to Stanford in overtime by 3. Yeah. Maybe you made it. Maybe you got excited. Maybe made a quick typo. Yeah. 2011, almost. But yeah, 2010 Oregon was the last one. It has been 12 years since a team has gone through the conference undefeated. It's almost unheard of. So we're 3 games away. Can it happen? Yeah. Could we lose one? I'm not going to be surprised, but I just don't. I don't know. I'm not really concerned about most of these teams at this point, but it's a week by week thing, and we're going to see how this goes. This is something. Can anyone tell me exactly what Mario's motto was? Like his team motto every time he went to game day. Chip was win the day. Lanning has said this too. Oregon only plays Oregon. We only are playing ourselves every week. Like, what was Mario's motto? Can anyone even remember what it was? Because I don't know if he really had a motto. I think it was, just play week by week or something like that, but nothing stuck. And this is what Lanning is multiple. Okay, I can see that being it, win in the trenches. I can see that. But it didn't really stick. Like, after all the time Mario was there, nothing like that ever stuck. And going back to like what Raymond just said is, Lanning has come out multiple times and said Oregon plays Oregon each and every practice and every game. It doesn't matter about who the opponent is. And that's kind of going back to what Chip Kelly used to do and say, Oregon faces plays a faceless opponent every week. Doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter what they've done, doesn't, any of that. They're just going out there and playing the game. And that's kind of what Lanning is kind of going back to, but in his own way. And it's kind of nice because I didn't even remember if Mario had a motto. That's how I'm not trying to say that what Mario did was not impressive or unmemorable, but the things that he did and the way he did things sometimes they just didn't stick. So it's nice to see someone like Lanning, Dillingham come out. If you haven't too, there is a great interview with Dillingham that came out. And this is like the first time he's actually talked openly to the media. It was off the Pac-12 network, but you can find it on Twitter. And he actually talked about like what he thinks and his kind of style a little bit, his approach a little more in depth. And it was kind of nice to see because you haven't gotten to hear him directly. So it was really nice. And One Scoop John here touched upon it. And I have to remind also people, first, I'm going to do some shameless plugs here. Please go ahead too, as One Scoop John and Will have been in here. If you're liking this, you're liking the Mark Rogers main channel, all of his channels, his shows, his content, join the Discord. You get Will in there, you get One Scoop John here, you get me, you get a bunch of other people, especially from like the Pac-12 and, SEC. And it's a whole, nationwide type conference, conferences coming together, and we mash and we talk, crap to each other, and we talk about the games every week. But you join the Discord. It's literally $5 a month for Mark. Search him on Patreon at MarkRogersTV. It's almost nothing. And you get the Discord. We're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, talking this stuff, getting together, doing StreamYards like this just to talk crap to each other or talk about the day or the weeks and games. And it's a load of fun. The link for that also should be in the description of the video below. So the other thing is, please, John also mentioned it, every Sunday night at 10:45 p.m. Eastern, you will find me live with a bunch of the other guys on the Voice of College Football's main channel for the CFB After Dark or College Football After Dark. I use the term lightly when I say I'm the host because John, the man in the chat here, he He's the narrator. He does the outline for it. He does a great job at it. I just say hi and I just run with it and let him do his thing, because all the guys have their inputs. It's our normal panel. And that's why if you join the Discord, you can also become one of the panel members and talk with us. But join the show here in the chat later on at 10:45 Eastern every Sunday night. Get in the chat. It's a great time. And I appreciate everyone being here. Again, we're going to talk about it quickly. The final score for Oregon, Colorado, 49-10. No questions asked. Blowout. But I appreciate everyone here joining in. So please go ahead. Remember, I'm Ben of Exploring with Ben and Sam. You can find our channel link in the description below. So if you'd like to check it out, it's not sports related, but please go ahead and check it out. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe. Drop me a comment. Tell me you were here, from the Oregon Postgame show. And once again, thank you for joining us this week. Hopefully Brandon will come back next week and we will have the postgame live next Saturday following the Washington game. Have a great one, guys.